As one we walk this earth together. As one we sing to her our song. As one we feel her sacred song. As one we touch her. As one we heal her. Her heart beats with our own as one.
Welcome to Healing Shadows. This is Sienna Lea, conceptor of Rise Multiversity and creatrix of Shadow Synthesis, course and community. Today my students bravely are willing to share with you this revealing of their multidimensional, multigenerational shadow excavation experienced within our shadow work community. As we shift the inner terrain from loss, scarcity, isolation, punishment, fear, and shock, we open the possibility. Our aim to share our journey with you is to live more fully embodied, joyfully growing our self-love and connection and building solution. It is time to rise above the current narratives on offer. Somebody has to drop the drama, shed the falsity, all the uncaring behaviors, roadblocks, opposition, break open the seal on our soul's liberation and extend an open revealing to others. We're learning to throw off the shame, loving this new birth, being transparent. So welcome to our playground.
Her heart beats with our own as one.
Welcome to Healing Shadows, a production of Illuminating the Shadowland. This is Sienna Lea, creator of Shadow Synthesis, and I'm here with a group of students doing their shadow work within our inner work community. I have a little introduction to give just to contextualize what we're doing here, and then we're just going to open this up to a sharing of our experience with doing our shadow work. Okay, so our understanding of the human psyche is shifting. Many of us are beginning to access our multidimensional nature. We are wishing to alchemize the pain and the false identities we have built as a result of being abused and wounded through this current 3D matrix of separation. We're all targeted individuals in one way or another. Most of us were severed from our organic connection to self, source, and Gaia, our mother planet, at an early age. The methods used to bring children into this 3D construct are too often brutal, and so many parents have been severed themselves from their hearts and the ability to stay present, so that we are unwillingly continuing to disconnect across generations. Our human hearts have been the target. Our ability to discern and know truth has been compromised through trauma-based mind and heart control. Our schools, our churches, our governments, and our families have all been compromised, forcing us to darn false selves and obey in order to survive. Shadow synthesis is the process we are engaged in to liberate ourselves from the control grid and to find our soul force and move into a balanced, sane, and loving co-creative reality. We have learned to access, embrace, accept, and heal the subpersonalities that have fractured within us from lack of love all along the way. We are locked away within our institutions and structures in this artificial construct. We live in the lost and found, often projecting outwards our angst and our wounding without even realizing this most of the time. We are frozen in time. Our task is to grow all the shocked, fractured subpersonalities hidden in shadow, release the darkness they have contracted to and the negativity they carry as a part of those unconscious agreements. Most of the interference that we experience is invited in by the abandoned aspects of our shadow subpersonalities, left in aloneness, carrying our core wounds. To heal, we need to find the strength to face truth, build trust again, and become transparent with our needs and our perceptions. This group has been doing just that for many months now, together. We are supported by Gaia, Source, and our bigger selves as we shed the shame, guilt, blame, and feelings of unworthiness that had been programmed into our unconscious minds. Here, we open the space we have built to include you. Here, our hope is that we rise together. So, perhaps we should introduce ourselves, just who we are, and maybe how you found shadow synthesis.
I'll go first. Yeah. My name is Shania. I came across shadow synthesis after reading Sienna Lea's book, and it just blew me away. What she depicted in her book almost spoke word for word exactly what I had gone through and what I was unraveling from. And it just showed me a certain depth that she has traveled in her own inner landscapes. And what I was experiencing individually was actually much more of a collective wound. And it just really brought me into wanting to work with her on a deeper level to see the work that she's done and to behold in that container, because what I had gone through had felt so traumatic and so personal, and having someone go through that as well just felt very safe, and it just felt completely aligned. So that's kind of what led me into finding the work and going through the process.
Thank you. Okay. So these ladies are being very brave and courageous because they've been doing some very deep inner processing. And I invited them onto this podcast because I felt that rather than me talking at you about this work, what better way for you to experience it than from the people actually going through it. At the same time, I do feel a little protective about each of them because they're making a very vulnerable, deep, and profound transition. Gently, thank you so much, Shania. Would anyone else like to speak?
But I came to shadow synthesis because I was called by Mother Earth to do shadow work, because I was a coach before and I was going down a path that was not honoring me. And I decided to go back to Sienna and start working with her again, because that's the way that I was called by Mother Earth and my higher self. And I've been working through my shadows, doing a lot for the collective and a lot for my ancestral wounds too, and surviving the dark feminine and loving it back home. That's what I have to say for myself.
That's a great starting point. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. I'm going to say something. We're just going to keep it really real here. There's the people that are engaged in this work as I said, are very, very courageous. They're also people whose multidimensional nature has spontaneously been opening up to them to greater or lesser extent. So they may have been hearing voices, being visited by entities, feeling that there are things within their energetic field that isn't even them. Perhaps some of them have gone to traditional psychological channels, and people that experience this kind of thing are often termed mentally ill. And I just want to say right now that is so not true. That a lot of the really awakened people, sometimes we call them indigos or starseeds, those are New Age labels, which I'm not that interested in, but there are just thousands, hundreds of thousands of you out there that are experiencing your reality in ways that this artificial construct makes you bad, wrong, or insane for experiencing. And one of the reasons that we're here to reveal the journey we've been on and the beautiful organic intelligence inherent in the Great Awakening going on with our mother planet is that a lot of this phenomena is being brought forth to expose the impositions upon us, the distortions we've carried, and offer a path of healing if we listen. And a lot of the voices we hear are the voices of our soul, the voices of the planet, the voices of our ancestors. These are sacred communications. This is not mental illness, okay? I just wanted to say that right at the get-go. Thank you, Dusty. Kajal?
Yeah. Hello. So I am from India, and I came across shadow synthesis when I was going through a very insane time in my life where I felt like I was going crazy, and I was having some weird physical issues that I couldn't pinpoint actually what was going on. And yeah, I was waking up to the matrix control system as well. Yeah, and I was waking up to the matrix control system, and I was shocked, and I was also awakened by it, but also really, really scared and confused. And at that point, I was really praying for some guidance in life, and I came across shadow synthesis. It got cancelled at first, then it came back again. Thank God. I mean, not God, but thank Mother Nature, I guess. And so that's how I came across shadow synthesis. And we've all been doing this work for the past 7.5 months, and we have a long, long way to go. But yeah, I'm grateful for this meeting with everyone, and yeah.
Thank you. It's interesting that you talk about these kinds of things, because I remember when you first joined, there were some interference, there was some physical sensations and some phenomena, psychic phenomena that you were wrestling. And you pretty much were looking for it to be removed. I want to speak to this. I'm just being spontaneous here. I want to get to everyone else too, but I just want to take a minute because it's up in the field.
Okay.
Is that a lot of the entity removal and possession or various things. I mean, there are many people, many good people, many people doing wonderful work that you can go to for healing, who will take these things from you, okay? And that is not what shadow synthesis is. Here we learn to do this within ourselves, and we learn to experience through some of the exercises that we've been fortunate enough to be gifted by others along the way, so that the unconscious and subconscious material actually surfaces. And we get to take radical self-responsibility to heal all these various layers ourselves. And that's one of the things I feel the best about, because that means we're transitioning out of a hierarchical, I'm the expert, I'm the guru, I'm the professional, follow my techniques, what I have will heal you, to, no, I'm the midwife. I get out of the way. I offer kick-ass techniques that really help you surface your stuff, but you do it. I'm here to empower you, because what is the 3D construct of separation? It's a hierarchical control grid that has made us outsource the power that we carry to authority figures, whether it's God, or it's our parents, or it's a priest or a priestess, or it's a teacher, or it's an employer. The whole suppression of authentic embodiment and our ability to remain sovereign as who we truly are, our true original soul force. This is all being co-opted, and that's a big long story, and we'll get into all of that. But we cannot fix this problem with staying within the same system that created it. You know, the great Einstein quote, which that was a bastardization of his quote, but it's very true. And that we need to support one another out of the system of separation. The system of separation itself is a lot of the problem, and all of the current social structures support it and insist that we be a part of it. So doing the work in community, I would like to speak to that. I want to do a check-in with everybody first. I would like to have our first conversation being about that, because I know a lot of people that are highly targeted, people that have been through hell, people that have experienced bizarre phenomena that are multidimensionally opening up and awakening, are very frightened of sharing their deepest vulnerable processes with other people because of the experience they've had. Being made wrong, dragged off to mental hospitals, being medicated, put on drugs, or being ostracized, being scapegoated, and the whole 9 yards. So it is one of the most threatening and frightening things, is bringing out this information in a shared reality. And yet it is the medicine that can help break those bonds. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Thank you, Kajal. So, Stephanie.
I'm Stephanie. I live in the heart of America, just right smack dab in the middle, a little bit on the northern edge of the Bible Belt. So that's interesting for me and my journey, which I might talk about later. But what brought me to shadow synthesis was kind of a culmination of things. I had been listening to George Cavassalis, and I did some YouTube surfing, and came across Sienna and some of her interviews. Listened to her talk, and I went to Rise Multiversity and read all about shadow synthesis on the website, and I just knew I had this internal, immediate, like, heart awareness that that is the work I needed to do. I was also going through some pretty traumatic relationship issues, a lot of mommy-daddy issues coming up, ancestral. Little did I know how deep I would be going into it, and I still have a lot more depth to cover, but that is one of the things that I'm really happy about, is having this community to witness me and push me when I need that push to go into those depths and create that safe space where I can go and do that.
Thank you. This again, I just feel really very tender and a bit vulnerable and a bit mama bear protective of you all, because there are a number of us that couldn't show up on this call today. It just really didn't feel right to, I think, 3 other ladies, which I totally honor and respect. It's a huge step, willing to put yourself out in the construct, saying the things we're saying, revealing the things we're revealing. But when this group started, I have a deep connection with the planet through my higher self and source, and Gaia let me know right at the beginning, this is a group of healers. Well, I didn't know what that meant at the time. I didn't know anything. It's just like, oh, really? And here we are, and I feel every person in this call is stepping through their own wounding and the places where they've been shut down, gone into hiding and severed themselves from themselves into a purpose-driven life, rebirthing themselves into a purpose-driven life, into a life that is coherent with speaking and embodying our own truth, and even, having our livelihood be a part of that. Our whole life is not compartmentalized anymore, and that's a whole process and a learning journey. But I feel that everyone here is got a purpose that is, everyone has a distinct and unique purpose, but we align, I believe, in wanting to bust through some of the lies that we've had to swallow that have hurt us so deeply. And if we can share what we've discovered, it may make your journey just a little less lonely and isolated. And so that's, I think, why everybody is just here, even though I'm sure most of us are feeling like, ooh, what is she going to ask me to say here? So thank you for being here. I'd like to start dispelling myths about our psyche and where we are. One of the big myths I'd like to dispel out the gate is our egos cannot chart a path of healing. We have to connect with the divine forces that are operating in our world and co-create with those forces to actualize our healing. And I know that everyone in this room has had that kind of experience and has tried it the other way. I remember when I started as a primal therapist, and I laid on the mat after 8 months, and I went into a past life in Egypt, and I couldn't say a word because the people running that show did not believe in past lives, did not believe that was real. So I had to monitor that part of myself with those people. And I wanted to do the primal screen therapy. That was many decades ago, because it held a key, and my soul was just calling me to transmute my childhood trauma through that process. So I had to keep my mouth shut about anything spiritual. And because the cure for neurosis was to face our inner child and help that child face that they never got the love they needed, that they were never going to get the love they needed. And that was the end of the therapy. Give us the $5,000, you're done. And even back then I went, wait a minute, this doesn't feel right. And I didn't realize it, but eventually I did realize it was black magic to rip open wounds, force people into the depths of their core pain, and tell them, you're cured. Because our connection, reconnecting to source and our own heart core, the core of our own divine essence, and the planet is the healing love is the healer. And we cannot make it through the kind of brutality that has been programmed into our unconscious without connecting to the divine. So I wanted to also mention that, since so many therapies are compartmentalized. We're either with gurus and with the whole New Age movement, where we're love and lighters and we're just connecting with the divine and don't mention the dark side, because that will, if we focus too much on the darkness, then we'll just draw darkness to us. So again, duality perception. We're focusing just on the light, and the darkness is going to bite our ass, because anything that we deny on our journey to our wholeness is going to be screaming. We're going to be acting out. We're going to be projecting it. And so there's just so much more to this picture that people are so hungry for, if that makes any sense. So if anybody feels like jumping in around any of these multiple topics, I'd love to hear from you. Okay, Kajal. Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned something about people focusing too much on the light and ignoring the shadow. But that focusing too much on the light is also, it's not true light, it's false light. Like there's true light and there's false light. So when we focus too much on the light, it loses its truth, it loses its essence. When we focus too much on the light, turns into false light, and then the whole point of the journey of healing is lost in a way, because we move more towards like false and lies more than moving towards truth, which actually a lot of it is found in the dark, as to say, like in our shadows. And also, like, one of the myths about shadow work is that it's like, it has this whole like stigma around it, that it's really scary and I don't want to go there. But actually, even if you have like 1% of courage in you, you can do it. And it's actually not that scary that you have to like not look towards it. But and with the help of community at Shadow Synthesis, it's much easier and doable, because there's support, and you don't feel that alone. Though at some points you really have to feel the depths of your aloneness as well. But it's really doable, and in this time and age, I feel like by doing shadow work, we can get connected to what the collective also needs, and what needs transmuted in the collective field as well. So by doing that, we open our fields to the collective and begin the transmutation of that as well, which is very needed at this point in time. We need people who can do this kind of work as well. So it's really not that scary when you, and Sienna like guides you really beautifully. So sometimes if I feel like I'm scared, I email her, and then she guides me through it. Like, not in a codependent way, but in a very healthy way, actually. So, yeah.
Well, that's an interesting point. The codependency thing, I mean, that's an addiction we need to get out. At the same time, working with people that charge a lot of money and only see you at certain times, where there are all these barriers. And I understand people need to create barriers and all right? And everyone works in a different way. But again, we cannot heal something by keeping in the old system of separation. So we've got this, believe it or not, it's on Facebook, okay? I'd love to be in a different venue. I know we're surveilling, but maybe AI can learn something from this group of ladies. And right now, Facebook has been great for us. We have a private Facebook page. We do our shadow diving. We share it. We all come in and support each other. We have guidelines not to fix each other, not to make each other bad and wrong, not to give advice to each other, but really hold space so that bear witness to one another. And we're all going through this. And we're there. We have that support 24/7. And yeah, I pop onto there a lot. And if somebody is stuck, they need a new exercise. I answer. I try to really be present for people going through this. And then we gradually start being present for each other. I back off. A lot of it is just the ladies sharing with each other. We do pairing during the week. So people are working with each other on a weekly basis. So, and the only guideline is embody your truth. Share what's real. Don't judge. Don't shut yourself down. So we are creating a different field than the field that we've been born and raised in for the most part. Now, some of you may have had wonderful childhood and loving parents. Wonderful, fantastic. The majority, this is not the case. So in order to, and this is something, Dieter Doom of the Tamara Project, he was a psychoanalyst and he created this community. He was a really stickler on this. He said, I've worked with thousands of people. I've seen so many things over the years, and we need to create a different reality to heal. This can't be a 9 to 5, 2 hours, pay me $200, you're fixed. And we need to, and that we can be doing this in cyberspace. I mean, it's hilarious in some ways. Who knew that we could hold this kind of sensitive connection right in the middle of AI? Thank you, AI. But we are. Not to say that I wouldn't love a piece of land, a house, and to spend much more time embodied with all of you and with the people that are coming. That's a piece that we're building and we're holding intention for. But just holding the field of love and care and non-interference, non-manipulation. Are we perfect at this? No. But we do make the agreement. Look if my BS is up, tell me. Yeah, I'm holding the field. If I say something that, you know what, Sienna, that totally doesn't work for me right now, please. If I have a shadow up, I may take time out. I need to deal with this because I'm not a perfect person. I have my own shadow process I'm still engaged in. So if we can just keep it honest, we have a real chance at the kind of healing that is just mind-blowing, really. All right, I'll shut up. We're just winging this, you guys, okay? We don't know how this is going to go. We're just being here and hopefully communicating what needs to be communicated. Okay. So, what's working in this process for you that you're just so grateful and it wasn't exactly this? And a lot of us have done other work. We've done great work. Some of us are still doing other workshops and things, bringing all kind of pieces of this together. There's all kinds of great people and great work, okay? For now, we're talking about shadow synthesis. So what's working that is blowing your mind? It was helpful, that was unique in some ways as you went through this? Or, yeah, okay. Stephanie?
Okay, so I just wanted to share that I really appreciate the inner baby work that you presented, Sienna, and it's more like in the past I'd had inner child sessions, inner baby sessions, but I never really felt like I was connecting like on an ongoing basis to my inner baby self. And through the meditation that you offered and doing that again and again, keeping in connection with that inner baby, it's been fascinating to me how much the trust between me and my inner baby has grown, and just her journey, just witnessing her. And I have my own young kids, as you guys know, and then being in joy of my own inner baby with my babies has been a really tremendous experience. And it hasn't been easy. I mean, she wasn't ready to come to me at first. She was shy and hiding, and afraid. But through continuing to work with her, we've formed that relationship, and I really feel like now I carry her in my heart, which is a beautiful thing. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, inner baby work. If anybody wants to speak to the inner baby, the multidimensional inner baby work, because there are all these pieces that are tangled up together, aren't there? Shania?
I feel the inner baby work is so vital and so important. And then there's so many different layers on top of the inner baby work that I've really received from you as well. You know, doing work in the past, being told, you know, that this is showing up, or that, you know, being told what's up for me. And it's almost like the authority telling me what to do. But with this work, you give us the opportunity to find it out. And what I really loved is going into your baby work and seeing what sub-personality on top of inner child self. So addressing the inner baby work and then recognizing the personalities that are suffocating that inner baby, fragmented that haven't done, that are stuck in our psyche. You give us the tools to go in and see these and witness them and figure it out on our own, where I found that other shadow paths that I've taken where more so have the authority telling me this is what you need to look at. It's more direct, but it was never me figuring it out for myself. So that's something that I really love, is that you give us the guidance to see our inner babies, to see the sub-personalities, to find those fragmented parts, and then go in and heal what's underneath that, because all the pain that our inner children are holding really equals a lot of those fragmented parts. So that's what I really love, is being able to excavate to the depths underneath the inner child to see the fragmented parts as well, and all the sub-personalities that are hiding there.
Well, it's interesting, you know, thank you, Shania. The shadow fragmented subpersonalities, that's a big topic, and people may not know what we're talking about. What subpersonalities? Are you guys schizophrenic? Who are these nut jobs with their subpersonalities? So I want to give just a little bit of background there, if I may. And this involves the nature of the dominator culture that we're a part of, that has made it taboo to openly display our sexuality, our feelings, our sensuality, our connection to the divine, our intuition, and I'm sure I left something out. Everything that is about our beingness, not our doingness, is targeted and demonized. And there was many hundreds of years in the Inquisition, where particularly women were killed and tortured and targeted for having any of these healing qualities. And a lot of the people that do this work have to process through those past lives, where the tear is off the charts for the level of torture that was created to make us never, 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 never show up in our full empowered divine inheritance ever again. And that's changing now, because we're coming together and we're stepping forward and we're going within, and we're healing. But these forbidden parts of ourselves have not disappeared. Energy is neither created nor destroyed. So where is this wild woman? Where is this divine feminine or masculine? There's women here, but this is, the masculine has been just as targeted as the feminine. Where are these parts? they're hiding in these subpersonalities in our unconscious and in our subconscious. So this work is an alchemical theater of the soul, in that we invite all these fractured aspects of ourselves to come forward and be experienced. We integrate their gifts and we help them evolve their higher spiritual powers, and we clear and transmute their shadows. And they are not that willing initially to come out of hiding, are they? They're terrified and they don't trust, and they're hiding from us. So there are all these dissociated subpersonalities, and we have been trauma-based mind controlled to live in our minds and to allow our ego to direct our destiny ship. And all this stuff is, well, actually, it's fuel for the overlords that have created this system of separation in the construct, in the matrix, whatever you want to call it. That's a whole other topic, but that is not a topic that is off the table among this community. We deal with it all the time. We deal with the Dracos, we deal with the Archons, we deal with possession of our ancestors. They were compromised and cut deals with the dark side. We can't take that piece off the table because we have to break those agreements in order to retrieve the soul force that we gave to them. Now, let me just follow this thread one more and then I'll be quiet. I promise. In that, and this is something, and we don't all agree, all the healers that rise, all the people in this area, we all work differently, it's all good. But even the entities, the implants cannot be just addressed with shadow work. That is true. But we can learn how our these fractured, dissociated subpersonalities reach out and to interference that's totally willing to come in and live in us as us and take that energy, like the energy of our feelings that are so taboo, or sexuality or sensuality, or even our connection to source. They will take it and harvest it. And to that part of ourselves, it's a release, because holding all of that traumatic charge is exceedingly painful. So in a way, it's like a drug. And so we need to explore all aspects of that relationship in order to heal it. We cannot just remove the entity in an exorcism-like mode, because it'll just come back in. If this part is all freaked out, if an inner baby aspect, let's just stay with the inner child. Inner child can be severely abused and fractured and hiding and doing all kinds of relational things with entities and interference. And we don't even know it's happening. We just feel possessed. We just want an exorcist. We want somebody to do a clearing on our field. Well, you can do that, but they just pop back in because there's a part of us desperately grabbing it and pulling it back in again. This has been my experience. May not be everyone's experience, but is that any of your experience in doing this work? Because it would be really a good time to talk about some of that. Either personally, this is what's happened to me, or in a more general way. Have any of you been experiencing the relationship between your inner baby and interference that you could share? Dusty.
I don't want to focus this as in a victim mindset, but I'm a very targeted individual, and I've had lifetime after lifetime after lifetime where they've done everything to me, where I want to say it like they've done it to me, because I've put myself in situations like that too. And I want to take responsibility for myself, but they don't want me to talk at all. And it's probably going to take me my whole life to love my inner baby and get her to be as strong as she can. I'm fine with that, just to love her the way that she is. And if your inner baby's not comfortable, any of these entities you remove, they're going to keep coming back and coming back and coming back. And then you'll keep pulling up all these past lives too that you're not healing either. And it takes loving all of you and having the inner baby feel comfortable also if you're going to heal and get out of this. And I've also had different techniques done on me that other people did, and it was calling the same thing back in and back in and back in. And doing this work, I've been able to get myself a whole lot more stronger. I'm not all the way there. I'm not going to lie about that, because I still have a lot to do with my inner baby. But it's not, oh, let's just press this button and Dusty will shut up anymore. Like Dusty's here now, and she'll speak her truth, and she won't stay quiet. And she doesn't let the interference get to her like she used to.
So that's a big part of healing, isn't it? Is that you're getting grounded and embodied and speaking your truth. Can you talk a little bit more about, and you have been holding what we're calling 0 point more, and that needs to also be brought out if you feel like it at all, Dusty.
Okay.
Not to portray you as all healed, because you've had, there are people that have had very severe abuse over a very long time, and those people. So you've come a long way, but the wounding is so severe that it's taking a lot of love.
It took me loving me exactly where I was and not overstepping stuff, because I want to just overstep it and say that I was healed. And then my inner baby would be like, no, I'm not healed. And you have to go through it at all angles. You don't have to. I'm suggesting like what I did. I had to go through it at all angles, and I'm not saying that I'm all the way healed, but if you say like, oh, you're really bad, I just want to ignore you to one sub-personality because I just want to be all love and light, then that's not self-love. That's not standing in wholeness. It's loving all of yourself exactly where you're at. That's what wholeness is, in holding 0 point.
But I really have so enjoyed and admired and been inspired by you, Dusty, because you've excavated so many layers. Like you came, you were a coach yourself, and you were, buying certain templates and certain protocols, and then you got the layers that were totally being ignored, and it just feels like your heart just so came online in terms of your dedication to truth, and that the joy, the love of embodying the truth has been an ongoing soul food that has grown you just some. I don't know if I'm saying this right. I've seen you do it over and over again. Is you keep excavating layers and being so transparent. Your group of people that listen to you, and it's so refreshing. It's because you're busting yourself. You're busting your own, because there are layers, aren't they? I mean, okay.
Yes.
I'm rambling again, but I'll finish it. The ego, shadow work is really about all the template overlays of our ego. And our ego is serving the dark side by design. And all of the trauma-based mind control is forcing us into this system of separation where we're working with the wrong operating system. And to level down in the truth is retrieve our essence, and this propels us. And to me, it is the deepest satisfaction to witness the joy that's born when you just are starting to embody and speak your truth. And it has not been, okay? It's not been fun. It's really doing some deep, when you're excavating a horrible trauma, and when you're excavating terror, it's not that fun, but there is something glorious about it. And I just have so witnessed you do that over and over again, Dusty, and it blows my mind.
Thank you, Sienna.
So, because it seems to be one of your own core missions to bust the illusion and go, look, I'm doing it. You can do it. Look at, I'm doing, there's So I don't know if you want to speak to any of this rant, but feel free.
I can speak to it. I was Emily Dickinson in a past life, and that's something that I've really brought forward into this life is my poetry and writing and speaking my truth. And in that lifetime, I didn't even want to speak about anything. I know they didn't have internet like they do now in that past life, but I wouldn't be doing anything like this at all.
No, she was a recluse. She barely left her house. And she kept her soul alive through that beautiful poetry. And I would love you to share one of your poems before we end today, because you're an amazing writer. And I could feel that Emily Dixon aspect in your writing, in the simplicity and the spiritual purity of that voice. But you've also had to excavate her shadow and the interference that was attached to her. It's been really quite a journey.
That was attached to my inner baby also, Emily Dickinson.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you want to tell
the
us
interference and my inner baby holding on with that past life and not wanting me to speak and feeling comfortable not wanting to speak either. And it took a lot of self-love to break through those layers.
Every second, you're still working through that.
Yes.
To speak with the kind of vulnerable feeling connection, again, it's basically socially unacceptable. I mean, in the dominator culture, which is the whole Western world, the bandwidth for socially appropriate emotional expression is this. And we're this. And our soul is ailing from this suppression because we stuff the unexpressed truth that we carry in our bodies. And it's socially acceptable to become ill. And you can make a lot of money off us if we're ill. So ill is okay. I mean, you know, if you're at a job, you can't say, I'm having a moment and I just need to hold my inner baby. I can't come to work this morning. But you can say, I'm sick, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Wouldn't that be amazing if there was more and more people doing shadow work on this planet that was actually acceptable, though? Like, hold on a minute. I need to process this thing. I have a huge, imprint from my past showing up, and I need to just be there with my inner child to hold her. And that would be acceptable. Like, that would be amazing. And it takes people showing up to do this work. So normalize that. And it takes community and forming this structure to be able to open up and build that trust where that's okay. I would love to see that. I really would.
Right on. You're another one, Shania, that has such a passion to embody your truth and a lot of deep wounding and a lot of multidimensional awakening. Like you took, I hope this is acceptable. You took yourself, you got a van, you took yourself into the woods, you created a sacred circle, and you didn't leave for how many days? Until you got to what you were looking for. Do you feel like, I mean, that's kind of a deep dive right out the gate here, but I love that's what it takes to excavate what has been buried and body armored and defense layer upon layer to shut us down. It takes that love that you have and radical actions of self-responsibility. I think that's amazing what you did. I don't know if any of that's too private or you could share any of that.
No, it doesn't feel very private. That was a beautiful trip, and I definitely needed to take that time alone to really just integrate and be with myself because, it's been a wild time. I was there for 4 days, and I was constantly breathing love up my chakras through my breathing through mantras. And on the third day, that was big for me. My solar plexus was so challenged, so uncomfortable, and I was so enraged. And I had to literally just focus on breathing this anger through me. And it was so profound because I finally was able to witness this dark feminine goddess. And my whole time through shadow synthesis has really been focused on this aspect of my shadow and how she's played through every single lifetime, and how really it's about excavating and exposing and integrating this piece. I think this is the biggest piece for me, at least in this round. And it was just so profound just to have that in front of me, so outside of me, to really expose that and face it and take ownership and responsibility. And if I didn't put that energetic circle out, that wouldn't have showed up. So it does take showing up and taking responsibility, breaking through the interference. I had the Matrix throwing parking tickets at me. I was being pulled over. I had so many tickets all of a sudden. I was passing out at work. It was just like everything was just it was haywire to even just show up to get there. And once I was there, that, it just all unraveled. So it definitely takes devotion and commitment to do this work.
Well, that's interesting that you talk about that layer of interference. And then when you actually got there, this Jezebel aspect that showed up. Now, just so our listeners know, shadow work isn't all about processing core wounds and the victim aspect of our psyche. We also have the predator aspect. Now, women have not had a lot of options historically for manifesting their power in the world. And so, like most oppressed and suppressed and repressed and enslaved people, we find workarounds, ways to try to get our needs met. And some of us have gone to the dark side. Now, I consider myself a dark sister in recovery. And if you read my book, Stealing the Moon, my story about that journey out of being a dark sister. And the fierce feminine is a force to be reckoned with now. It is a force that's going to help turn things around if we can own the shadows we carry, if we can own the rage and the hatred and the manipulations that we've learned in order to survive and face that is what happened to our power. That's a big part of this work. Now, some of us just have a sense there's a part of us that's just evil. And, you can go to church and say, forgive me for I've sinned. And then you can continue being a dark sister. But that doesn't really get us anywhere. And we don't face these really dark predatory shadows until we built enough love in our field, and self-love particularly, so that we can handle the impact of facing the evil, the compromise that we all have. But I don't know if you feel comfortable. This is our first podcast, and we're going to be doing more. If you feel like you could speak a little bit, maybe just one layer of Jezebel. Because I know there are people out there that are struggling with this, and it's so horrific that they don't have any idea what to do with it.
Yeah, I feel one layer, is, and it starts, I really feel, with the inner baby, not having the love, not receiving the attention and the connection that he needed, and then seeking it outside. And the Jezebel spirit is very seductive, and she will do whatever it takes to find that love. So she's a master manipulator and really seduces men and women into her sticky black web and really entraps them in this game of alluring seduction and fame and fortune and riches. And I mean, there's so many layers to her. She loves to hide in so many ways. It's so subtle, yet so in your face at the same time. But really, she is the counterpart of the narcissistic patriarchy. I really do believe that she is, you know, that hit woman keeping the construct of that patriarchy in place, and she's playing, you know, hand in hand with it.
So can you talk a little bit more about that? Because that's really interesting. How is she actually serving the patriarchy?
Well, I feel there's many different layers to it, because she's enabling suppression to happen. She's enabling, you know, the seduction to happen, but it's keeping, how should I go about this on the surface level? You know, it's like she creates separation. She'll beautify herself. She'll compete with her sisters, and then she'll do it for the name of the masculine or the patriarchy. It's like a fight for the finish, you know, and she'll arouse and seduce the masculine and, you know, push away her sisters, creating more separation because of that. And she'll cheat, she'll lie into the same system, and she uses her power to gain power, just as the patriarchy does over people, and will hide behind false light. I mean, there's so many different ways that she plays into the same power system as the patriarchy does.
Well, maybe we need to bring in the Orion Consortium here, and how at the top of the patriarchy, and we'll talk about Queen Bitch, but not right now. We're talking about the off-world overlords. This you won't get in any of your current psychology books, that harvest our soul energy, but it has to be lower density. It has to be negativity. This is partly the design of the matrix, is to the oppression, the suppression, the oppression, did I say that already? All of the forms of torture on humanity. Why do they keep doing this? What are they getting? They're getting our soul force as fuel for their insatiable power trip. They are not source-based, and they are piggybacking off of the human genome, off of our DNA, and off of the incredible, juicy, emotional water energy of our feelings, that the human being has got a richness, a soul richness that a lot of off-world races do not have. And if you're not source-based, you're in starvation, you're in constant craving. And so they cannot, if we are embodied as beings in wholeness, and our soul force is we're sovereign, and we know how to create boundaries. We know how to be grounded and embodied, and we're not allowing anyone to vampirize our energy, anyone to steal our soul force, which is the end goal of this work and work like this. Then they lose their food. They lose their fuel. They're fighting to keep us absorbed now into the AI with the 5G, so toxic, so negative, so zombified, so dissociated and fractured from our own soul embodiment, that we're just out there floating around as fuel for them. They've been doing it for thousands of years, and it's all getting exposed now, but they are fighting harder, and yet the earth is offering, through her correction, a whole new field of love and healing as we align inner wholeness, as we do the work. And we don't have to worry about those forces anymore. But any part of us that's trapped in that is getting harvested. Now, Jezebel is working for the dark side. All of the in my book, Stealing the Moon, it's talking about Nefertiti in Egypt in that lifetime and how she was so enraged as Akhenaten incested all of her daughters, and she was a bit of egocentric at that time, narcissistic, queen of the world, didn't want to give up her position, and then didn't bother to stand up for her daughters as they were getting incested and probably hybridized, because there was a whole alien piece there too. And she just went mad with rage and hatred. And yet that rage and hatred was then used by the priestly caste, snake gods, the snake priests, through Akhenaten. The feminine is the fuel, the embodied feeling beings, and that can be men too, but we've done such a job to make sure that they're severed from all of that. But nonetheless, this big, juicy, emotional feat, if it's, turning to rage, it's a gigantic fuel to keep this construct going. And you got to deal with the dark side, right? You go, okay, I'll be your Jezebel. I get to be adored, and you think I'm so sexy, and you want to take me to bed, and you want to give me $1 million. And I mean, I remember at one point I was the mama bear at the Crazy Horse, which is a strip joint in Las Vegas. I was in the spa in the back, massaging the girls all night long. I heard the story of everything, what they were doing, everything was going on. And there were billionaires that would come to me, seeking therapy because they'd fallen in love with a stripper who was a hooker. And, I would say, well, what about her being a hooker? Didn't you understand? And just clueless. I mean, the men, sadly, I don't mean all men, but a lot of men are sitting ducks for Jezebel. And that's a whole other topic, okay? But Jezebel gets to work the crowd. She gets the money. She gets the attention. And she gets the contract with the dark. She gets to deliver these souls to the dark side. So there's a lot to Jezebel. I just wanted to.
There is. There definitely is.
Yeah. So, but facing that you've been one of these women, that takes guts. And coming out publicly and saying it, thank you. Mm-hmm. Because now there's a Jezebel in the audience going, but maybe she's done with that road and she didn't know what to do but just sit at that dead end. Start, take her drugs, be on alcohol, be a sex addict, be an attention addict, whatever it is. And these are all programs where they can harvest us. Mm-hmm. So the idea is to come clean, with other people. I'm going to condemn you because they're going through the same thing in their own way. Going, here's somebody that gets it. Okay, can we get done with this stuff? And then we find out it's seriously fun to get done with this stuff, right? Because our hearts are coming alive. Our souls are re-embodied. Our passion for living, we all want to express our truth. It's just an innate need. And all these fractured personalities, our inner baby, they all just want their day in the sun, to be seen, to be felt, to be heard. When we get all that, okay, now I can go along with the program. Now I can do the laundry. Now I can do my work. But we got all these fractured selves screaming to be heard, to be loved, to be accepted, to be seen. And they've cut a deal to the dark side because guess what? The dark side was listening. The dark side said, I'll help you out there. Do I have a deal for you? I'll take that pain and suffering if you let us, a part of us, live inside you and do our agenda. And we don't know we're doing that. There's parts of it. We just want relief. It's like, give me the drug. I just need some relief here. Yeah? Okay. So anybody else have any dirty secrets that they feel like, or any aspect of the feminine shadow, the dark side, that they would like to share, or how that healed, or how that showed up in them? Dusty.
I've experienced extreme abuse in this lifetime. That's how my higher self decided to set it up. And I was raised in a religious family, and my dad sexually abused me. And then my pastor told my mom not to do anything about it. And so I ended up having to live with that secret my whole life, and justice never got served. I ended up being a sexual addict because I called it my dark side, and I needed that to protect me. And at a very young age, I ended up being a sexual addict. And then later, I ended up not wanting to have sex. And so my dark side kind of played tricks on me too, because it was a drug for me for a while, and then I wouldn't want to do it. And then I got on drugs really bad too, from when I was 18 to when I was 29.
Oh,
and I was able to stop all that.
Wow. There's some of us that have just come in that are just ready to expose, reveal, and heal. And we have nothing else that's really interesting to us to do but this. Because we can't figure out anything else until this gets done that's even worthy of our focused time and attention. Kajal, say something if you feel it.
What I was going to say is, I wanted to talk a bit about how one like shadow synthesis is like feminine work, and it's about bringing your feminine energies and clearing your feminine energies and purifying them. At least that's been the case for me, because after joining shadow synthesis, I realized that my feminine is highly traumatized, and so like my feminine energy needed purification. So the feeling states in what you shared with us, the feeling states really helped me, relax first of all also, and open my feeling channels, though I still have to like go deeper with opening my feeling channels as well. But that is one thing that really happened, like beautifully happened with doing this work, is that the feeling states helped me open up my feeling channels and get in touch with my feminine energy, which I desperately needed. Otherwise, I don't know what I would have done, honestly. And also, one thing, like, I want to talk about how the shadow sort of like creeps in very slyly, And so the other day, Dusty and I were having a session. We met up to do feeling states, and then we did the feeling states, and all everything happened. And then suddenly, like before the session, I was crying by myself, and like I was very relaxed, and I was in my light, and all of that. And then suddenly, I don't know what happened. Like I think subconsciously, my insecurities were playing out as well, like on some level. And suddenly, like my energy shifted, and it became like this overpowering, sort of weird, distorted energy. And I was telling her about like these new mushroom pills that I have, which I'm taking to clear my pelvis and all of that. But I was saying the right things, but the energy was sort of like weird, it was like overpowering. And then after I said that, I went, we cut, and Dusty's innate intuition worked very well, and she was like, okay, Kajal, I'm going to go now, bye. And I was like, okay, bye, Dusty. After that, like when I got off the call, I felt like something was off, like at the end of it, like from my side, I felt like something was off. And then when I thought about it, I realized that because my insecurities were playing out, how my shadow sort of creeped in through that, of wanting to control the situation and wanting to like have my power over the situation, or what's going to happen, instead of like being in my relaxed nervous system state, my shadow sort of crept in. Yeah, so the shadow sort of creeps in through your nervous system, through your insecurities, and that was pretty interesting to observe. I didn't judge myself this time. I was like, okay, this happened. It's all right. And I sat with it and I felt it out.
Well,
So,
that's
yeah.
a really important point. Thank you for sharing that. Is that, we're not perfect. This is a mess. We're cleaning up a big mess inside our psyches. And it's like a big ball of yarn where there are a lot of knots, and then all the pieces are tied to it. And you're talking about the interference. You're talking about the fear of hiding the feminine. You've talked about in your very patriarchal culture in India. Women were killed. I know that's not a practice that's done that much, although I know it still is. Sati, when your husband dies, you're supposed to kill yourself. You're useless. There's no more point to your existence. Women are there to serve men, clean, have babies, do this. The patriarchy has made dirty the feminine. They sit on this side of the temple. They can't come in if they're on their moon. Women are dirty. They're evil. The only redemptive call they have is in serving the patriarchy. And they've been killed for stepping out of line. And they've been killed in your country and treated unbelievably. And they still are in many places of the world. Western women and Western people have little idea of what women around the world are still going through in terms of this. So the terror at showing your feminine flow is pretty huge. And the insecurity is coming, and the shutdown is, it's been there to protect you from horrible things that are real in your ancestry and in your communities. I know it's better than that, and it's, your family isn't, hardcore aligned. I'm talking about the whole culture. And because we have the whole culture inside of us, we have the whole construct inside of us, we have everything inside of us. We're reacting all the time, and we have this huge push for connection and truth, and we have a huge push that says, don't you dare do that, to stay in separation survival. And we have an infection, the Watiko infection, that's in the crystalline grid that is there to pollute and create horrible distortion in anybody that tries to step out and embody the purity of their hearts, the goodness of their soul, reveal the sacredness of their sexuality, and be open and yet our psyches, our original design was created, our human genome was created to live in truth, to be the expression of our souls embodied. That's what we came here for, the great joy, the great bliss of connection and authentic embodied expression. So the tension between those two is in every human soul. We're going backwards and forwards in this. And when we try to break free, all of the contracts that we've had over all the timelines, including our ancestral, are going, no, you can't break free. We'll kill you. We'll destroy you. And now we have to be stronger than go, no, you can't do anything to me. I'm free. I'm sovereign. I am in a conscious relationship with the planet, with the source of all being. I am protected, I am strong, and I can be myself now. And this is why we step forward and we go public. We go, and so can you. And so can we all. Guess what? The Wizard of Oz, right? The the wizard behind the screen. I am the big and bad and great Wizard of Oz. Well, no, you're just this little screwed up guy behind the screen. Get out of my way. you know, I mean, Anna has been such an inspiration in this way to me, because she's so staunch. She's like, no, we're so done. We are not budging an inch. We are standing in it. And we can. We really, really can now, because this is the end of his story. It is done. But we don't quite get it safe enough to emerge, do we? But that's why we need these incubators, where little by little we can feel like, wow, I just revealed, the Jezebel complex to millions of people if they want to hear me, like, oh, and I'm still alive. How about that? Like, okay, we can do this. We're going to come back in a couple of weeks again. We'll dive deeper into some things. Maybe we'll feel enough trust to pull a layer off and show a little bit more and share a little bit more. But before I close, I guess I should. Is there anything more anyone feels like sharing around any of these topics? Feel free if you do. Dusty?
Do you have time to hear a poem?
Yes, I would love to.
Okay.
That's right.
This one's called Heart Dialogue.
Okay.
Thank you, sadness, for bringing me one step closer to joy. How could you say that, the inner critic said. I told her that sadness brings me closer to joy because I am meeting myself exactly where I am, and instead of telling myself that the happiness lie. Why would you expose me like that, asked the inner jailer. Because self-honesty stops the lies right in their tracks, and I can truly understand myself with love. Again, I don't get it, said the inner critic. Of course you would not get it. You cannot stop thinking of another lie. Thank you, my best friend Rage, for keeping me in my cage. You let me know why I feel a certain way inside. When I do not honor my feelings, you take me for a ride. You have it all backwards. These aspects do not deserve your love. I am here to keep you in check. I am here to keep you from growing by keeping the record playing in your head. Inner jailer, when will you get the message? When will you get that? When I turn on myself, I am losing the battle. You want me to show you love, but you do not want equality for all. I have room for each and every one of you in my heart, and will keep loving you until you are ready to come back home. Do you want to work with me or against me? I will always love you no matter how much you want to keep fighting me. The end.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Dusty.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All to bring some writing. I think it'd be a beautiful way to close if anyone else feels like sharing. Because, how do we alchemize this pain and this suffering and this abuse and this torture and these holes in our soul? Creativity, authentic expression from our true voice is such a healing force. And we have some really talented writers here, as I'm sure we have in the audience listening to us right now. Kachao, you put a piece up today. Do you feel like reading it? And you don't feel like you have to. I don't want anyone to do anything they feel.
You guys, actually, I just posted that on the group, so I thought it was funny, but I don't mind sharing it if you guys want to really listen to it.
I would like to listen to it.
All right. I will share it for you, Sienna. All right. So this poem is called Shadow Diving with Golden Diving Goggles. I am hungry. No, sorry. Angry. I am wounded. I am hurt. Ouch. The pain runs deep. Heart beats faster. Frozen in time. I dive deeper into the waters of the real, into the body, swimming, floating, drowning, coming back up for air, for sacred breath, the facing of shadows, the owning of them. It's actually funny, really fucking hilarious, a cosmic joke to meet the part of me that is untouched and will be for eternity. What is this? What is all this fucking drama? My heart awakens when the mystery consumes me, when the mystery arouses me, in awe, in wonder, in the I really have no fucking clue. Becoming silent to really listen. Mother Nature is saying, I love you. Yeah.
Great. That's great.
Awesome.
Thank you. Shania,
You're
do you have
welcome.
something? And don't feel like you have to. You're an amazing writer as well.
I don't have a poem, no, but I definitely will be writing my piece on Jezebel and exposing my story soon and kind of articulating more information. And maybe I can share that in the next call. But yeah, I just love listening. It's beautiful to know that as deep as we go into the depths, we always have that breath of air and that love that's there and that we integrate more, that this isn't just a deep, arduous process of excavating and hardships and living in terror. And we actually are excavating to the bliss and opening up more. So it really is a rewarding journey. I think people, they're terrified of it, but once we get through it to the other side, it's that, and I loved both of those poems. It really revealed that. So yeah, I feel that's a good way to leave off the call. And
it is. Terrified by design. Terrified by design. So I remember Eric Fromm's, come into the gone. The worst has already happened. It is true. It's true that, beyond all of this, there's a whole new reality that as the earth is awakening and the earth is moving and the earth is in correction, she's reaching out as to us in co-creative partnership. She wants us to make it. She's held this reality for her human genome to thrive. We've had huge impositions. We've had huge distortions. We've had and so has she. And now is our time. It's so hard sometimes to believe after all of this targeting and torture and hardship and limitation that it can be this easy to let go if we just come clean and own it all, love it all, and don't condemn the dark side, don't condemn the Jezebel, don't condemn the dark sister or the dark man. And this is not just a work for women. It's a work for the sensitive males that they were so targeted. Circumcision, cutting off all the sensitivity at the end of the penis, serious trauma-based mind control to do that to little baby boys, and then making them have to be strong and have no feelings and be the man and blah, blah, blah. I mean, massive amount of shutdown to the male. And there are a whole new generation of men that they know that's completely bogus. But we all have these programs, these patterns that have been cleverly inlaid in our subpersonalities, in our wounding, in our trauma, in our pain, in our beliefs, in our core wounds. And we just need to clean it up. And it can be a beautiful celebration because it's soulful. We come together as soul family and we express our souls and we can go, wow, beautiful. And that gives us courage to take another deeper dive the next time. And we can roll this out to others that don't have that chance, which is what we're here to do today. Okay. Enough said. There are more rounds of shadow synthesis. It'll be on the screen, shadowsynthesis.org, right? Shadowsynthesis.com, risemultiversity.org. Soon these lovely ladies will be doing their own healing work, and as soon as you have your websites up and your practices, we'll share those too. So thank you. Take heart. Know that you are not mentally ill. If you're connected to Dracos, or you can feel the archons rumbling around in your subconscious, or Source talks to you, or you can hear the planet singing. You can feel your divine masculine come to you in dreams, making love with you. There's so much more to us than this system of control wants us to believe, and it's all ours. Just find the courage to rise. Okay? All right. Good night.